Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. Show number 4 is sponsored by Baker College of Cadillac, Independent Bank, and Remax Central Marianne Quist.
Okay, good morning. We've got a great show for you today. In the studio, we have Joy VanDrie, who is the Executive Director of the Cadillac Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. And with her, she brought Jason Day along, and Jason manages the Hampton Inn here in Cadillac. And so, welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Katy.
I wanted to talk to both of you about tourism in Cadillac and about how we've become a destination, wouldn't you say, Joy?
Absolutely. We always have been a destination. It's just a matter of, did everybody else know that too?
That's right. And I wanted to talk a little bit about winter's wildly popular with snowmobiling and skiing and snowshoeing, and summer with our lakes. What's more popular? Which season?
You know, it depends on snowfall in the wintertime. Weather has a huge impact on our tourism here. One of the things that we're trying to combat that is group sales and what we hired Kathy Morin in our office to do. However, as popular as summer is, winter, if we have a good snow winter, it's very, very similar. And fall, and I think Jason could probably attest to this, fall has become probably equal to winter in some ways.
Wow. So now that surprises me. Jason, when people come in the fall to the hotel, they're here why? What are they doing in Cadillac in the fall?
There's a variety of things. A lot of them just trying to enjoy the last little bits of summer, getting out, doing their last little round of golfing, or just trying to enjoy nature for one last time.
So
outdoors. Of course, the leaves. Oh, yeah. Everything with Cadillac seems to revolve around the outdoors.
Okay.
One way or another. And that's basically where what brings people here during that season.
The fall color tour.
Fall.
Yeah.
Okay, that as well. You said you've got a mix when we talk about occupancy at the Hampton Inn, your guests. Can you tell us what that mix looks like?
Well, during the week, it's mostly all business travelers. Once we hit the weekends, then, as Joy was saying, if we have decent snowfall, then we'll have snowmobilers, skiers, ice fishermen, anything else around. During the summer, it's pretty much the same thing, only more people, I guess, there for tourism during the week, on vacation, things like that.
I see. Okay.
But during the week, mostly business.
Okay. Joy, you're traveling all over the country to trade shows, the state of Michigan to trade shows. What is Cadillac known for?
You know, it really depends on which trade show we're going to. You know, when we go to Novi, the golf show and the outdoor shows or the snow show in the fall, KISS is still one of those funky little things that we have here in Cadillac. The KISS Tour has been a big hit. The snowmobiling, you have big groups around those. A lot of the trade shows are very niche oriented, so they're not just general travel shows. We do go to Chicago in a collaboration with 3 other visitors bureaus, and it seems like Northwest Michigan is very well known for outdoor trails and just general recreation because of the mix between the Manistee River and Betsy River and all the different rivers, along with the shoreline and Sleeping Bear Dunes and everything else that you can do outdoors.
We've been called an affordable vacation spot. Can you speak to that, both of you?
Well, from an affordability perspective, when you look at Cadillac and amongst all of our greater Northwest Michigan communities, you look at our hotel rates are lower but really, really good. We have our attractions are all very economical. All of our all the things that people come to in the greater Cadillac area is because it's awesome activity and it's very affordable for people to do it. So, and we have a lot of free activities here in the community. So I know we're launching a couple blog posts that, come to Cadillac for the weekend for $500 for a family of 4. The majority of that money is going to go to Jason at the Hampton Inn because you can come to Cadillac and do a lot of activity on a weekend and not have to pay a dime for it, other than your hotel room and restaurant and food.
Can you tell us what some of those activities might be?
Well, like when you go to the beach, when you go hiking on a trail, when you go, you can go fishing at the Carl T. Johnson Hunting and Fishing Center, and they will give you they will loan you their fishing poles. We have so many things in our area that people can do.
The splash pads downtown.
Yeah,
for little ones.
easy access type things. You can tour along. You can bring your bicycle. You can hit all kinds of trails. You can walk downtown. You can check really cool restaurants and boutiques and everything around. But even our boutiques downtown are not super expensive like you would find in other, coastal northern Michigan or just general areas.
Right. You have lots of phone volume coming into your office. You've got volunteers in there. You've got employees. What questions come in to you guys?
A lot of the questions are typically like a fall color. When are the colors? How good are the colors? In the summertime, how are the beaches? How's the water doing? Are the trails all groomed, or is everything springtime? The big one is, are all the trails open? Have all the debris and everything been cleaned off the trails so people can go out and recreate?
You're the eyes and ears for the tourist coming. They're checking on things to make sure that they're good to go when they get here.
They want, if they can't get the face-to-face, they want somebody telling them about it on the phone.
I see.
On our website. Our website actually has kind of taken over a lot of the phone calls because we have about 500 pages of information on our website. So
wow, you've done some new things, some innovative things in recent years. I mean, the Beer Fest has gone huge. I mean, it really is wildly successful. Can you talk about that and other things that you've implemented that are here to stay?
Right. Well, last year we had our 10th anniversary of the Craft Beer Festival. Shoulder season such as spring and fall were two things that our board of directors asked me to figure out how to increase, occupancy in our hotels during those time frames. So the Craft Beer Festival is one fall color tour, and partnering with the Michigan Steam Train Institute is another one in the fall. In the springtime, we have the collaboration with the Classic Car Show, our Cadillac Lakes Cruise and Car Show, the second weekend of June. And then we also have a handful of spring events, such as the Mushroom Festival, the Jeepers. If you look on our website, there's a huge list of spring activities. A lot of people think, oh, there's nothing going on in Cadillac. There is absolutely one festival every weekend within 20 minutes of Cadillac all year round.
Okay. What, in 5 years, where do you want to be?
Oh, Katy, that's a good question. I would think right now we're running about 46% occupancy in our hotels. My personal goal is to get that above 55%, because I know that at that point, then we are filling and we are keeping Jason as busy as what he can be. And really, that whole goal, I want to shatter that goal, quite honestly, with building. Right now, we are full. If we just did a group survey of all of our hotels and all of our facilities that hold groups, and we are basically looking at full occupancy every weekend from the beginning of June all the way through the end of September already, based on weddings, group conferences, golf groups, and different things like that. So already, and this is not even February yet, right? Mm-hmm. So we're really filling those weekends. Now we need to start filling those Sunday through Thursday. The Hampton Inn already has a great clientele. The Holiday Inn already has a great clientele. We need the rest of our 614 hotel rooms to fill up during those time frames too.
Okay. Jason, you mentioned your January has been very good, that the hotel is busy, but December not so much, that you were surprised at a lower head count or bed count. Can you talk to us a little bit about the ebb and flow of...
Well, everything in this area is dependent on the weather. If we don't have the snow, we're not going to get the people coming up here to snowmobile, to ski, or anything else. It's not even very fun to go out walking on trails when it's just horrible weather. But January, we got some snow. The weekend that we had that big snowstorm, everybody came up. A lot of people had trouble with the parking conditions and stuff due to all the snow, but everybody showed up for the snow. So, if we can keep that, then we can keep the people here.
Is the secret for you to have that base with your business folks, that you know they're going to come during the week, and okay.
Yep, that's what keeps us alive. You never know when the people are going to show up due to the weather and whatnot, but the business people are definitely the ones that keep us going. They're our bread and butter that keep us on the books year round.
Okay. Joy, what are other communities doing that you'd like to see Cadillac do? I mean, is there a festival or a show or something that you've seen that you think should be brought to Cadillac?
It's interesting because a lot of people look at the Bureau over the last couple of years and they've kind of frowned a little bit because we've backed away from being physically involved in organizing festivals. Well, we can't properly promote everything if we're physically involved in those festivals. So, one of the big things for me is to help elevate people and inspire them and get them to do it themselves and help organizations, help businesses in town bring more volunteers together to be able to successfully create new festivals or create new events or look at a current event and say, how can we retool it to bring more people? How can we open up the venue from just being a very closed list of people that are coming to opening up to the general populace? And how do we at my office maximize that to be able to bring the attention of the media and the general public to the greater Cadillac area to bring more people in here to check that stuff out. Because it is interesting because I think Jason can talk to this as well, because we spend a lot of money, but we don't market to Cadillac because those aren't our visitors. So a lot of people in the greater Cadillac area don't know what we do. They're just benefiting from it. So we are marketing like the radio is out on the way, out in the airways or whatever, and whoever is going to pick this up streaming wherever they are in whatever state or whatever country they are, we are actively promoting to people outside of the community to bring them here.
I see. Pure Michigan, can you speak to that? I had the opportunity to be at a big convention with Joy the Pure Michigan, and people know you and people know about Cadillac, and that was just wonderful. Hey Joy, everybody knew you. Can you talk about what that has done, and does it still have the same momentum as it did?
Well, they don't have funding right now, so they're working as hard as they can within the means that they have. The problem is that this is an election year, so media buys are really expensive, and right now they're kind of at the end of that window to be able to pre-buy a lot of that advertising in out-of-state markets and out-of-country markets. So if we don't get the funding, it's going to be interesting to see how it affects the rest of us, because it's all about branding. It's all about keeping Cadillac and keeping Michigan and then keeping Cadillac in the state of mind of people wanting to come here for different reasons. The Pure Michigan folks down in Lansing do a fantastic job within their means of being able to do public relations and media outreach and different things like that. But it still does not replace the paid advertising and millions of dollars that we are investing in that.
I see. Let's talk about Airbnbs. I mean, it has impacted the profitability model of hotels. And is that a thing in Cadillac? Is that impacting occupancy in our hotels?
Well,
yeah, I wouldn't say that I've really noticed much of it. We've got 111 rooms compared to a couple rooms with a B&B. It might be pulling a little bit, but in the 8 years that I've been running the Hampton, we've steadily increased our profits every year. So I haven't seen any downswing due to that yet, although they might be pilfering a few of our customers, but
the other rooms,
not enough to make a huge dent or anything.
That's good to know. So the numbers keep moving up for you, Jason. Oh, congratulations.
Oh, absolutely. Occupancy numbers, in 2011, our community-wide occupancy numbers were about 66,000. This past year, they bumped over 104,000. So we've definitely increased our occupancy throughout the area. Now, with that, Airbnb and all the different secondary homes and different things like that are on Home and Away, and there's like 15 different websites that you can go to book those. When we did our last count in our greater Cadillac marketing area, which encompasses 3 counties, Wexford County, Misaki, and Osceola, we were under 100 different homes, whereas compared to, down to Ypsilanti or Saugatuck, there are like three or 400 homes a day that are trying to sell through Airbnb and stuff like that. Totally different regulatory issues in those communities. And I can say that the city of Cadillac is, addressing those types of ordinances and trying to pull those in, because there are issues with those, because there's not an on-site person managing them. There is not necessarily fire, any type of inspection or anything like that, making sure that everything is correct for that type of a user. Mm-hmm. Right. So, our office, I can't refer people to any of those homes in our greater marketing area because they're not regulated at the level that they need to be in order for me to feel comfortable. And liability wise, we just can't do that.
So, Joy, you mentioned volunteers, such a critical part of what you're doing with your festivals, and like the craft beer event, I know has so many volunteers. Can you talk to me about when you're putting the car show together and the beer fest? How many volunteers do you have? How do you communicate with them? If someone did want to get involved in helping out at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, what does that look like?
Well, we use this really cool website called signup.com, and it's an integrated system. So we've figured out that there's two different types of volunteers. There's a volunteer that wants to help on the planning and just dig right in. And then there's a volunteer in the community that, I'm really busy, but I'll give 2 hours of my time. But you know what? If I'm going to give 2 hours of my time, I want to know what I'm going to do and who I'm going to do it with. So signup.com really allows us to do that, because we can take an event and we can segment it into, like the Beer Fest. We have two different pour times. We have everything's blocked out into different groups and different time frames. And when you sign up into that block, you can see who else has signed up for it in that block, or you can sign up you and 3 of your friends to work in the same area. And it gives you a description and it gives you all kinds of stuff. So we've really utilized that. And we're hoping to be able to we've offered it to other festivals, and we're going to be working a little bit more on that outreach this next year, trying to help, those probably not digitally oriented events in the area to kind of get a little bit more into the digital age and invest a little bit more in that kind of outreach.
I see. Thank you. So we've got Jason with the Hampton. It's a well-known name. It's a solid, steady Eddie hotel, a place kind of everybody would say, okay, I feel safe and comfortable at a Hampton Inn. There's a lot of mom and pop little hotels in the area, and you brought up something like maybe not so savvy or maybe not so technical. How do these folks make it in a world now that is everything's digital and everything's online, and how do you help those folks fill up their hotel rooms too?
Well, from our perspective, that's actually probably where we spend the most time and energy trying to get them up to speed, because like a Hampton and a Holiday Inn, they have all their systems in place, and they have their franchisee fees pay for these marketing and all this engagement and all these different booking, the very loyal base, and making sure they're on like all these different apps and different things like that. It's a lot of work for a local shingle to be able to stay in business. We are very blessed, quite honestly, though, in addition to that we do have a nice mix of franchisees and locally owned, because people are looking for those experiences in both genres. I mean, one that let's have this very unique experience, and this is the only place I'm going to be able to get it, or I want this experience on my activity, but I want to come back and sleep in a place that I'm comfortable with. So it just depends on the traveler, really. Yeah.
What about our local campgrounds?
Our local campgrounds, they crank. We're trying to get our arms around them a little bit more. We've had a couple of them reach out to us at the Bureau to see if we can help them kind of put a little more of a collaborative effort together. They are not bound by the Public Act that the hotels and everybody are for the legislative piece behind our Bureau. So we'll see. I mean, the camping experience, it seems like with every camper group, there's always a couple of those people in that group that still want to maybe partake in those, evening bonfires, but they're not going to be caught dead in a camper. They're going to go stay at a Hampton Inn instead. So
they don't want to rough it.
They're not going to rough it, right?
We'll have more with our guests, Joy VanDrie and Jason Day, coming up after these words from our sponsors on 107.9 CDY. This is Cadillac Unscripted. Buying a home is still the great American dream. And yes, it can be an intimidating process. But you can rest assured and have confidence when the professionals from RE/MAX Central are in your corner to guide you through it. Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central has helped hundreds of home buyers in and around the Cadillac area navigate the process over the years, and she's ready to help you too. From start to finish, from finding a home to submitting an offer, to understanding the purchase agreement, to inspections, surveys, and appraisals, to the time when you finally sit down and sign those closing documents, Mary Ann will be there. When you're ready to buy, talk to Mary Ann Quist at RE/MAX Central. See her listings at teamquist.com.
A best practice from another community. Let's take a like-sized community. Is there something that you really want to do that somebody else is doing that you would want to bring here, or something that you've seen work well in another community that you like?
Again, I kind of feel like we're a little bit more of a pioneer community than that. So if there's one thing, it would be a multitude of things that I would rather put together and make our ball of yarn a little bit different than everybody else's. I don't think there's one. So if I look at us, compared to like Manistee, it's so different. It's similar but different because they have Lake Michigan. They have a different industrial level. They have a different, type of downtown than what we do. It's so hard to look at another community and say, well, locally, everybody compares Cadillac to Traverse City. And it's kind of funny when you look at the numbers, population-wise, they're twice as big as us. When you look at hotel rooms, they have 5,200 hotel rooms available plus. I think plus they're adding like another 1,200 this next year. And we have 614 per day. That's a huge difference just in pure numbers. So I would like us to capitalize on the cool things that we have and figure out how to better market those and collaborate on how to market those, like our historical pieces. We have great history here, and there are some parts and pieces of it that are completely different than any other community. People laugh about KISS. Nobody else can say that.
Right.
We have people that come to Cadillac just to stand in front of that monument and get their picture taken, and to be able to tell their story to their grandkids or their children, or we've had multi-generational families getting their picture taken in front of that, and they all came. A group of 10.
Isn't that something?
I walk the trail every day through the summer, and nearly every day you see a group of people over there getting pictures taken in front of the KISS monument.
Isn't that something? Jason, we talked about your business travelers, and Joy explained to me that some of them are reps, and so they're going to stay in Cadillac, but they might need to be in Manistee one day and Traverse City one day, and a lot of that has to do with our location, but also in affordability with hotel rooms. What's the breaking point for people when they call and start price checking? What's reasonable?
Well, it depends on the time of year. This time of year, usually around $100. You don't want to go a whole lot above that. Once we start getting into summer, though, people won't bat an eye at $250 for the night.
Is that right?
They still say it's better than Traverse City, that's charging over $300. So, we have that going for us. And mentioning that they go to these other places, that's one of the nice things about Cadillac being centrally located. What a lot of our guests like is, today we can head up to Traverse City, come back, next day go to Manistee, Houghton Lake, Grand Rapids for some shopping. Everything's kind of within reach of us. So we're a wonderful little centrally located place for that.
Excellent. Are there times when you're at capacity? There's no room at the end. Do you ever have to say that?
Every summer on the weekends.
Fridays and Saturdays.
Yep.
Also
Fridays and summer sold out. It's a given. We don't even have to try.
So what happens? Do you refer people to another hotel, or?
We'll do that. Usually by the time we fill up, we've got one of the most rooms in town, other than maybe Evergreen. But generally by the time we fill up, everybody else in town is filled up, and at that point, Traverse City is usually filled up, so it's usually heading south from there.
Yeah,
people try to hit big
we have a
rapids.
weekly thing that I know we call out of our office weekly just to find out where everybody is, and then we'll publish that list. So all the hotels will kind of have an idea going into the weekend who might have occupancy, so they don't have to call a bunch of other ones. Make it real quick and easy for those people that just show up and say, "Do you have a room at the inn?" They're like, "No, we don't have room at the inn, but down around the corner they might, or let's give them a call and see if they have occupancy." Our rule of thumb over the last few years is we may be full, but we want to keep them in Cadillac.
I see. Yeah, don't let them leave if we
Right.
can keep them here.
Right.
Do we have enough restaurants in town?
No.
Jason?
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. We could use a few more of those. I'd like to see more of the local flavor and stuff. That's where we try to send people to. We don't want another Applebee's or anything like that. We've got Ruby Tuesdays. I'd like to see more local flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need any more delis. We need actual full service, restaurants. Looking forward to having the Dockside Inn, formerly the Marina, open up sometime this spring. That's going to be an excellent addition to the area. And you'll always hear all of the other restaurants complain, "Oh, we got, everybody's going to go there," or whatever. Well, it always flattens out, and we have a huge what's called retail seepage and restaurant seepage, which means we have a lot of dollars here in the Cadillac area that are spent outside of Cadillac because we don't offer that nice mix of food and different things like that. So people have to seek it elsewhere. So they're spending their money outside of Cadillac. The more that we can offer them in a diversity, the more that we'll keep them here.
Okay, you mentioned retail, so we need more retail too.
Absolutely, we need more retail.
Specifically what, Joy?
We need more boutiques downtown that offer, even myself, and I don't, we used to have a couple men's stores downtown. We have one downtown now, and it kind of caters more towards an older crowd. We used to have a sporting goods store downtown. We don't have anything like that. There's a handful of different types of businesses, and actually there's a retail study going on right now for the Cadillac area. So we're hoping to be able to hear the results of that at our Downtown Cadillac Association meeting in a couple weeks. So hopefully they'll be able to really pinpoint a handful of different businesses so we can really start promoting those to try to get people excited and open some of those businesses. Or if there's somebody out of town that already has a business like that, entice them to open another store in Cadillac.
Okay, and when we go back to restaurants, are you thinking more family dining but full service?
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Jason, besides price point, because I would guess that's somebody's number one thing is what's it going to cost to rent a room. What else is important to your guests?
I think reputation, cleanliness, that's probably the biggest thing. If your room's not clean, they're not going to come back. So providing them with that clean room when they come in, all the amenities that they could possibly want, friendly staff, that's what's going to keep them to come back. If you can't deliver on that, then nobody's going to come back to see you.
I see. For people that bring families, Joy, you mentioned fishing, you mentioned skiing. What about people with small children that want a vacation? What will they do when they come to Cadillac?
Well, it depends on how small they are, but a lot of it really depends on the weather, because a lot of times you can't do a lot with little kids when the weather is inclement. There isn't a recreation out there that we offer that children that can at least walk or be pushed in a stroller can't handle. One of the beauties of a lot of our trails and a lot of our recreational opportunities here are state-owned or city-owned. They're owned by a public agency, which means they're fully accessible. So that's a huge benefit for our area. It's not like we have these hidden little things that you gotta climb over rocks and whatever else to get to. They have nice parking lots, they have bathrooms, they have this, they have that, to be able to allow those young families to be able to easily get their strollers out or walk their children up to, the activity.
Okay, so you're saying that we share our stuff with other people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But accessibility is a huge issue. You look at not even just the young population, you look at the aging baby boomers, right? So those baby boomers, even 5 years ago, and even now, are super active recreational advocates. But as they continue to age, they're not going to be able to recreate at the same level, right? But does that mean that they can't go?
Right.
I don't think so. I know I'm trying really hard to identify parts of our trail systems and different things like that we can actively look at and make sure that they're accessible to the aging population.
Real quick, when we talk about numbers of people, not just in hotel rooms or in restaurants, but are coming to these things that you're throwing, the car show, how many people did the car show bring to Cadillac?
Last year was about 5,000 over the weekend.
How many of those people, I mean, I know this is hard to pinpoint, but how many of those folks stayed in Cadillac, would you estimate?
I believe our hotels were full that weekend.
Yeah, well, it seems like Back to Bricks we don't necessarily do as well as we would think we did. I know with Evergreen being a sponsor, I imagine, and having things like the sock hop and more activities for them to do, I always felt they probably got the lion's share of it. But I think a lot of people made that more of a day trip. They would come, check out the cars, have some lunch or something, and then head back home at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a huge local draw. Over the years, since we've separated, it's not Back to the Bricks anymore. It's the Cadillac Lakes Cruise and Car Show. Kind of separating ourselves from that Flint activity. A lot of those people from that area are not coming up.
Okay.
Now, hopefully in a couple weeks, we'll be able to make a new announcement on something, but I can't share it right yet. But now, since we're talking about this, you kind of have an idea.
All right.
But there's some cool stuff coming up with that. And I think one of the cool things with the car show is that it did bring people from 90 miles away, not the 3 hours away, but it brought people, and it brought people I know from Gaylord and Grayling and in different parts of northern Michigan. They haven't been to Cadillac in, say, 20 years, and they were blown away by what downtown Cadillac is now, based on what it was the last time they were here.
And nothing else would have brought them here.
So, we hear all the time about, I drive on 115 all the time and, Cadillac doesn't look like much.
Yes.
Well, they don't realize that 115,
Outskirts.
is just the edge of Cadillac. If they looked across the lake and blinked a couple times, they might be able to see the rest of the community.
Right.
So, those are things that those trade shows kind of help overcome. We've been able to do a lot more imagery. We just contracted with CrowdRiff, which is a social media platform. It just allows us to get into so many more photos and to be able to really tell the story of Cadillac from a photo perspective and a video perspective. So we're really excited about that too.
And the Craft Beer Festival, how many people did that? And that was a younger demographic.
Craft Beer Festival is a totally different graphic. Yeah, it's like going from the baby boomers to the millennials and Gen Xers. So this past year we had just over 1,200 people down at the Craft Beer Festival for the afternoon, and that was awesome because it's also coupled with the Epic Bear Claw bicycle race or a mountain bike race, and that race brings in 300 to 400 people on its own. So that's in the morning, and then our beer festival's in the afternoon. So that's a
big day for folks.
It's a big day for the Cadillac, and then you get steam trains and color tours and everything else wrapped up in, and that's one of the big reasons why our fall numbers have increased so much.
Excellent. Jason, was the hotel full for the Craft Beer Festival?
It was definitely more full than other weekends. Every year, usually once Labor Day rolls around, the staff before, we were always like, well, summer's over. It's going to start slowing down now. And it doesn't slow down for like another month or 2 months after
He complains, and I'm like, really? You're complaining?
Well, we take a beating through the summer. It's definitely...
You're tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Just
right.
So, well, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. We've got Jason Day from the Hampton Inn and Joy VanDrie, the Executive Director of the Cadillac Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you.
Absolutely,
You're
Katy.
welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Join us next week at 8:30 on Saturday morning on 107.9 CDY for another edition of Cadillac Unscripted. This week's broadcast and YouTube cast has been sponsored by Baker College of Cadillac, Independent Bank, and Marianne Quist of RE/MAX Central.